Good morning, everybody. My name is Sheila Granger, and welcome to this morning's Q&A webinar for those of you who bought the IBS training programme and video. If you can just let me know to begin with, I can see people that there are people on the webinar. If you can just type in the chat room. So at the bottom of the right hand side of your screen, if you've not been on one of these before, bottom right hand side of your screen, there is a thing where you can type messages. So I'll type a message in now. And I just want to know really that you can hear me okay before I make a start, just to make sure our technology is working. So if you can put, can you hear me okay? Missed the E out of that, but if you can just type in the chat box that you can hear me okay, and then we can, make a start. I have had a few questions that have come through ahead of this webinar, so I'm going to start off by answering some of those as well. Excellent. Thank you, Pamela. Great that you can hear me. So for those of you who bought the programme, some of you have already got your videos back. We've done the edits on that video and sent it back to you. I have got some more that have come from my video guy yesterday, which will be coming out later today. If you haven't yet already sent me your details of how you want them to appear on that video, please do email them to me, because we can get that video done for you fairly quickly. My video guy is quite fast at turning things around. So if you haven't got it yet, or you haven't heard anything, or you're not sure, do just email me to think@SheilaGranger.com and I can chase that up for you. I'll put my email in there to make sure we've got it. So I'm going to start. You may have questions yourself, in which case you can just type them in the chat box and I can answer them. So rather than this be almost a training course as such, this is just really going through some questions that people may have about working with people with IBS. Hello, Birgit. Excellent. I think you've got your video, which is good. So rather than the training, it really is going through questions that people might have so that you feel comfortable working in this area. The training guide itself, I guess, is fairly self-explanatory on the areas that we should perhaps look at. And although I have put scripts for all the sessions, it really is working with that client on an individual basis. So all I can really do is put on those training guides a framework and some likely scripts. Of course, we shouldn't read scripts to people, but they're more thinking about the tools and techniques or how you might approach a certain area. There will be a proportion of clients that you work with who you do the first bit of the programme, and then it will become clear that there is perhaps something underlying this. So the example that I gave in my email was a lady who, she'd suffered with IBS. It affected her job to the point where she was really, potentially going to lose that job. And if she lost her job, she would lose her home, because she lived on her own. She was the main breadwinner. And so fairly serious implications for her. In her case, though, she suffered with all the symptoms of IBS, and that kept getting triggered. But there was a lot of lower level anxiety going on, and she'd also gone through 3 bereavements in a very short space of time, which she hadn't really dealt with. And once she dealt with those, the symptoms, given the other stuff that we did as well, almost disappeared. She's had one attack of it since, but nothing like, she's now back at her job every day. Before, she was going to work for a couple of days and having to come off sick. So a lot of the time, it will naturally come out that there's something else behind this. But the person initially will come with the symptoms of IBS and, wanting those fixed. But they're often, because something else is going on. So within the training, we talk about the main areas to look at, and we're building some resilience and their ability to fix themselves. But with IBS, that the body, it's almost like there's something in there, isn't it, that's triggering all the time. Mind and body are part of the same system. It's always worth remembering that. But there's a few questions that came in from somebody who couldn't come on the webinar. So a gentleman called Tony, who I believe is in New Zealand. And it's his birthday today. So when you're listening to this back, Tony, happy birthday. I hope you're having a good night out for your birthday. So some of his questions, he said the booklet says 7 golden rules, but only 6. Was a rule omitted, or are there only 6 rules to begin with? I think initially when I put the training together, I'm trying to think back now, there used to be a 7th thing that I put in, which I've now over time working with people decided that I only needed 6. So I think that was probably my own confusion, Tony, as I was writing the programme out. So please, there are only 6. Just to clarify that. It's also asked, do you have any advice on how to make initial contact with GPs and medical centres? Now, some GPs might be very forward thinking and willing to listen to you and be fairly easy to get to, but the vast majority are probably not in reality. So how do we get ourselves in front of doctors, medical centres, etc.? And the easiest way I found over time, and it is something that it's a process that you can put into place in your business, and it can be a bit of a slow burn. You know, a lot of the time it's not an overnight success, but it's a slow burn that starts to build the relationships with doctors and medical practitioners. So every single client that I work with, without fail, on the initial consultation, I always ask, you know, what's your doctor's name and address? And do I have your permission to contact them? And nearly everyone will say yes. If they say no, fair enough, but I'm not going to force them to do it. But most clients will say yes, because the chances are whatever issue the client is coming to you with, they've also already been to their own doctor multiple times. So when you've done the work with this person, you don't need to contact the doctor in advance, but when you've done the work with this person, then it's a case of sending a brief letter after you've done your work. So you're almost going to start putting your successes in front of those doctors, and write a really brief letter. Dear Dr. So-and-so, re your patient, because we've always got to say it's their patient. The above named person came to me with their symptoms of IBS. Following a hypnotherapy programme, they have now reported a marked improvement in those symptoms. Yours sincerely, Sheila Granger, professional clinical hypnotherapist. So it's really short and sweet. That they're not interested in what you've done. You know, all you want to say is, I've worked with this person, they've said that they've improved. And that is then going to go on their medical file. Now, the first letter that you get from that, get right to that doctor, you know, they're probably not going to ring you up. I'd be amazed if they do. They're just going to put it on their file, but they'll have clocked your name. The next letter they get from you, they think, that's that same person. So they'll start to become more interested then. And, you know, if you've had a doctor where you've perhaps sent a few letters to the same doctor, at that point, I'd try and get in touch with them and say, you know, I'm seeing a number of people from your medical practice with this. You know, I am seeming to get results. Is it something that I could have a brief chat with you about? See if you can open that door up a bit. But the first step is mainly to start putting your name in front of them. Another question has been, you know, what sort of records would you recommend I keep to build a base of evidence to present to doctors that my hypnotherapy work is achieving results? And it's something we can be quite bad at, not keeping records. And, you know, so you want to keep records of some description. But the best evidence really is going to come from the client, you know, because we can put our records in front of people that, yeah, I've worked with these people, they've reported this, but there's not any real evidence there. It's just our say-so still. So the more you can get, you know, quotes from clients, you know, testimonials, if they will let you take video footage, not necessarily the session itself, but perhaps, you know, how they felt before they came, how they feel afterwards. You know, if I look back to perhaps virtual gastric band, you know, I went out to the world with that simply by, you know, doing a complimentary group session with some people. And it's something that you could do with this in your area. You could put together a group session Doesn't have to be lots of people, 6 people that you'd work with in a group, and you could invite the media along, but you're getting people's views on it and the outcomes that become easier to document. So you could do that with this quite easily. How closely do you recommend we work with a person's GP? I don't really work with their GP at all, if I'm honest. All I would do is put their, the result in front of them afterwards. If you have a client who, you're not sure whether it's suitable for, or you think there's something else medically going on, but because we're not really medically qualified, then perhaps you might want to contact them then, write to them, say, is hypnotherapy suitable for this person? But, it's only the same kind of thing as working with any issue with hypnotherapy, really. Should we ensure the client has obtained an IBS diagnosis from their doctor prior to working with them? Again, I don't, because we're not really into labels. IBS is a label that's been given to them, perhaps, by the doctor already, and also we don't want to, if they've not been and got that diagnosis, we don't want to be putting that label on them, because if we give people a label, we're going to live up to that label, aren't we? We're going to have all the symptoms with it, we're going to Google it, etc., etc. So just work with what this person comes to you for, and it's more, how would life be different if you haven't got it? If a person has been suffering with IBS for a long time presents with comorbid symptoms such as anxiety, depression, should we seek to help the client gain relief from those symptoms prior to IBS hypnotherapy? Quite possibly, yes. Again, it's very difficult to answer some of these things because it depends what presents in front of you. But if a client is suffering with anxiety, then the anxiety is probably making the symptoms of the IBS worse, or maybe contributing to them. So, but it could be that we're just going to go through some of the anxiety things to start with, and you might want to do a session on that to begin with. You might want to be uncovering, what the anxiety is about, and then the IBS might go away on its own. But yeah, you need to look at the big picture stuff, that what is presenting in front of you. And also give a realistic expectation to the client of how long this is potentially going to take to fix. I'm never an advocate of, one-off sessions really to fix things. I think we've got to be given the time to work with the client properly so that those things don't, come back up again. No, band-aids. Do you find that IBS clients have a good understanding of the condition, or that it's necessary to invest some time in explaining the what and how to them? Again, I don't. I know some people maybe do, and it's really your preferred way of working. But I don't really want that client to focus on any of those symptoms in any way, shape or form, because otherwise we're using that law of concentrated attention. Whatever we focus on, we're going to get more of. So I let them tell me what their symptoms are. I would then, and they may well say, I've got IBS. They might respond to your advert or relate to some of those things in the video. But when they come and see me, really, I'm going to work on, what does this stop you doing? Why do you want to be fixed? And how's life going to be different if you are? And I'm going to work on how they want to be as a person and the strategies for making that happen. Is it possible to use the approach in group sessions? Yeah, absolutely. I find that a lot of people, there may have been something that sparked this off initially, but it's kind of something we've got a trigger that keeps getting fired in different situations, and almost people come to expect it as well. So it does happen. All of those things kick into place. So you could use a group approach to this, and just aim really to lessen the symptoms. And of course, it reduces the cost per person, and it helps you gather a bigger evidence base. So I would definitely recommend that. How often do you recommend we follow up? 1 month, 3 months, 6 months? And I mean, I tend to be following up with my clients fairly regularly. And I think we should keep in touch with our clients, partly to see how they're doing, of course. We want to know that what we're doing has worked, or if they need any more help from us as well. Because it's our job really to remind our client that we exist. It's not their job to think, oh yeah, I must ring that person up again because, you know, I've had a breakthrough of symptoms, or so yeah, find a way to keep in touch, even if it's, you know, just not necessarily direct how you're getting on with. It could be that, you know, you're sending them complimentary stuff that, you know, might lead them to wanting something else from you. So think about what that follow-up could be from the point of view of still giving value to the client, but leaving the door open as well so that they can come back to you about things. And finally, from Tony, when marketing the program, have you identified some key words that you find work at attracting potential clients? I put the video up on Facebook last week, got 400 views, which is excellent, and 10 clicks was actually quite good. That's quite a good click-through rate, Tony. I didn't target it at IBS sufferers. I just wanted to gauge the reaction. The statistics for New Zealand tell me 7% of the population have IBS. So that means somewhere around 28,000 people in the Greater Wellington area. It's a serious number of clients to go for. The challenge is, how do I connect with them? And it's always our challenge, isn't it, with marketing? It is, how do we get people to contact us? So if you like 10 people then, you know, 400 people viewed it. Some of those maybe it's sort of gone into their minds, perhaps something to look at, might be interested, because it's not enough with marketing now to put something in front of people once. You know, it's not enough to get somebody to take action. They've got to see something multiple times. And I think it's up to about 15 times or something now. It escalates all the time, there's the numbers. So we've got to keep drip feeding it. And the other thing is then how do we then get people to, so they've clicked through, so you then got 10 people who have clicked through on that ad. They're, you know, enough to, you know, be even more interested. So it's how do we nurture those 10 people? This is where we get into a bit complicated really on digital marketing. But you might want to start with, to keep it simple, keep putting the video out. You might want to do a few Facebook Lives about it, giving some simple advice, giving away some tools and strategies. You might want to do that group session to start with. I mean, I find now when I put videos up that it instantly makes the phone ring, simply because I suppose I've already got a following of people, and you know, so people can relate to the next thing that I start talking about. But it's not all about online. That's the thing to think about. You've got to put that online stuff out, and you know, so that is a good click-through rate. But it's also about what you're doing offline. So I do huge amounts of work offline, far more than I'm actually doing online. So I will go to networking groups. I will talk about specifically about IBS. You know, I will give presentations all the time. And that way you're actually getting people to see you in multiple areas, so that they're seeing the thing on the website, they're seeing the thing on Facebook, they might be seeing it on LinkedIn, they've heard you giving a talk somewhere, you know, so get people to, you know, take action by taking them through the next point of your, what they might call sales funnel. So they've seen the ad, they're interested enough to click through on that. You know, how do we get those people who click through to move to the next process? So at this point, they might be, that's interesting, I didn't know it could help with that. So you might want to post the video again to start with, but then you might want to be getting people to come to a, you know, complimentary event about something. And from the complimentary event, you're getting them to sign up to programs from there. So it's thinking through, not thinking, okay, just one thing is going to do it. You have to look at it from a multi multifaceted point of view to move people through that process. Because sometimes, if we've not got a massive following, then what we're expecting people to do is to make what they might call a buy-in decision straight away on that video. And it's maybe just a step too far to expect people to do that. How do we get them to the next step? So I'm hoping that gives you a bit of food for thought, Tony. So has anybody else got any specific, I'm hoping the people, that you found that useful, those questions for yourself. Anybody online got any specific questions that they'd like to ask at all? Please do type them in the chat box. Hi, Barb. Nice to see you got the chat box working. Quite good, these webinars, when they're done like this. They are from my point of view, because I've been, I was out all day yesterday. I had a massive presentation to give on mindset to CEOs of companies and how we think, affects us in our businesses. And I also had a Dragon's Den kind of pitch as well to do. And for those of you in America, that's like Shark Tank, where you get the investors. You pitch into 3 investors, and then they're going to grill you on everything. And then either they're going to make an offer of an investment that you're going to negotiate, or they're going to say, "Yeah, I'm out." I got 1 out and 2 offers of investment, which was really good, and it was a good experience. So that was all day yesterday, and then I've been out already this morning to my business networking group. But the reason that's so good for webinars is that a webinar like this, I don't have to come on camera, which is a good job, because the hair fairy came to see me last night. So Barb, hi Sheila, I've been conducting gut focus therapy for a few years and I found it quite effective. The service I work for also speak to dietitians and pelvic physios as well as gastroenterologists, because they've also seen it very effective. Food for thought for other areas that can be approached. Yeah, absolutely. And, I always think with the profession that we've got, there are so many opportunities in different directions where we could really make a difference. And when we're looking at, marketing our services and who we should talk to, the reason, I go business networking is because what I'm gaining from business networking is what they might term as referral partners into my business. So that could be dietitians, nutritionalists, physical therapists, because they're all seeing our client base a lot of the time. So yeah, the dietitians and nutritionalists, they will already perhaps be seeing clients with these kind of symptoms. They are perhaps experts in that area, but remembering, they're not an expert in the type of work that we do. And sometimes you might have a client where it's good to have a bit of joined up thinking with that. Everybody's different. So you might have some clients who, they need a bit more help on the nutrition side of things. Or they might need to go down a specific diet route. And that's not to say that our stuff isn't working. What we can probably do is be putting marginal gains onto things and taking that multi-layer approach. So yeah, Barb, that's a great point. That the other people that you could look at for referral partners into your business, and the people to go and speak to about the type of work that we do. It's a great idea. Thank you. I sometimes find it, I'm really bad at actually not spending very much time on Facebook. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because my focus is really on the business. And often with, Facebook groups, you sometimes can think, oh, maybe I should be doing that, or, I don't seem to have as much work as that person, or you can actually do your confidence in. What we should all really be doing is thinking, who are the clients that we want to help, and how do we, make the connections to get those people so we can help more people. That's what we're really about as a profession. And, we can look for other hypnotherapists for guidance, for support, but really, I don't advocate spending much time on, Facebook, because actually it's eating into the time when we could be making connections to the people who, can put us in front of people, or where we could go and give a talk, or, where our clients actually hang out. And that's where we really make the difference, I think. Any other questions at all? A lot of people sometimes with these Q&A support webinars, because of course the information is fairly self-explanatory, what a lot of people tend to do is pick these up as a replay. Now, I'm very much somebody who makes myself available as much as possible for people. So, it's never a case of you've done this, you've done the support webinar, bye-bye, not interested. It really is a case of, if you come across, once you're working with people, you have a client who, you either start to scratch your head with, or not sure what to do next, do just email me, because although I'm definitely not the font of all knowledge, I have to say, but I have worked with hundreds of clients, so you're probably not going to come across something that I haven't already faced myself at some point. And I'll very happily give you any advice that I possibly can with that. I tend to do it, by email rather than Facebook stuff, really, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But if you're catching us up on the replay, if you have any questions, do just email me. If I don't answer you straight away, it's simply because I'm out of my office, but I will as soon as I'm back. Okay, so Valerie, good question, Valerie. Why 3 sessions? From my own experience of IBS and from working with clients, can be a very deeply ingrained problem, which is difficult to crack. Okay, it's a good question, and in some ways I agree with you, and in some ways I don't. So I find that within that period of time, Valerie, we've actually identified what the problem is. And so those kind of things, we've put tools in our toolbox for them dealing with those symptoms. And if they use the tools, it'll make a difference. The ones that are difficult to crack are the ones where it's difficult to identify what the issue actually is. And those are the ones where you would run into more sessions. So this is initially a 3-session program. And, for those ones with perhaps milder symptoms, by putting this gut focused approach to it, they start to highlight the areas themselves. By going through that program and them keeping that diary, we're highlighting the triggers. So we can work on the triggers. And most of the things that we can do, we can teach them different ways of managing things, aren't we, really? We're building that resilience. And I find with a lot of clients, if they use those tools, it will work. You will always get clients who won't pick up the tools, because on some level, it's safer, more comfortable to keep hold of the problem. So the ones that are difficult to crack are the ones sometimes where they have massive gain from keeping hold of those issues. What are they getting out of it? I know myself, I have something called myasthenia gravis, which most people have never heard of, but it's an autoimmune disorder. which creates massive, massive muscle weakness. So at the moment, I'm being pumped full of massive amounts of steroids to keep it dampened down a little bit. And I would say consciously that serves me no purpose whatsoever. It's actually getting in the way of me getting on with stuff that I want to get on with. I'm a busy, busy person. I haven't got time for it. I haven't got time to be slowed down. But on some level, it's quite useful. So on an evening, last night I didn't get in until 8 o'clock, and I really didn't want to be standing cooking dinner. And my partner said, "How are you?" And I said, "Oh yeah, really tired, muscles a bit weak." It's like, "You go and sit yourself down." I thought, fantastic, I've got a result there. I can go and sit myself down. So on some level, I get something out of it. But with those people who are difficult to crack, yeah, you need more than 3 sessions without doubt. Barb, how do you navigate people with eating disorders? I have to say, Barb, it's not something that tends to present in my clinic. So I'm not an expert in that area, really. I haven't got much experience of it, if I'm honest with you. I tend to get people really who just need a bit of help to identify the triggers and find out a better way of dealing with it. So I tend to keep things fairly simple. I'm not somebody who overcomplicates things, and I think if we keep it simple and people use the tools and techniques, it's enough to start making them feel better. And as soon as they start feeling better and they start realizing that they can be in control of it instead of it being in control of them, we start to be on a winner. But I can't honestly, Barb, give you a lot of advice on that. I don't want to talk about something that I don't know anything about. You might be looking for, if you have a look online, there will be other perhaps trainers who are better experienced in that. I'm trying to think off the top of my head actually who may be a good person. And just going back to Valerie as well, the ingrained people versus the ones where they're easier. I would say working with clients that I probably have, a ratio of 80-20. So 80% of clients, respond fairly well. You might have 20% that you have to do more work with to get that nut cracked. Okay, so Barb, for the bloating then, another good question. And, I've related everything in that course and in the recording that I've done to, them getting their body to work as it should. So you might want to use some more metaphors with that bloating. So it could be, that they've got some valve or something that they open up that can everything go out down the valve. So I would use metaphoric approaches to all of it. And if I always look at, when we're using metaphor, what is that client's mind map of the world? How do they view the world? What resources have they got to fix themselves? Because, it's always worth going back to those presuppositions of human behaviour, that we've all got the resources to fix ourselves. We just don't know how to access it. So what resource has this client already got? So when you're building metaphor, what do they already relate to? What job have they already got? How can you relate that symptom of bloating to something that they already do in day-to-day life, perhaps to reduce something or to let go of something? I'd relate it all to metaphor, Barb. Okay, any other questions at all? Okay. So I'm going to draw today's Q&A to a close. What I'll probably actually end up doing is doing another one in about 4 weeks' time, because it'll have given people a bit more chance to go and do some work in this area, and perhaps, with Tony, he may well have looked at setting up some group sessions, and so it'll probably be useful to revisit it again in 4 weeks. Valerie, good question, Valerie. With regards to the recording, is it okay to use Katrina and the Waves? Is there not royalty issues? There would be royalty issues, Valerie, if you were sending it out en masse. So if you were making it available online, I'm sure there would be royalty issues. What I do with recordings, I've used Katrina and the Waves on that one, but there might be another upbeat type of music that you want to use. The best upbeat music to use if you're doing one-on-one is the music the client likes. They might actually like some orchestra music. So I've only, we've got to be careful of royalty. And I would personally, make sure that you buy that music or whatever through iTunes. So you've actually bought it yourself to put on something as well. But I wouldn't be making hundreds and hundreds of copies of that, because otherwise, you could end up into royalty issues. So just be a little bit careful with it. Yeah, none of us want a bill of thousands and thousands on royalty, do we? Okay, so I hope that's helped. So I hope you found it useful this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day, your evening, and I will set up another webinar in about 4 weeks' time when you've got a bit more time to go and play around with some of this. And so if you have any specific client issues in the meantime, please do contact me. Very happy to help at any time. Okay. So have a great day, everybody, and I'll speak to you again soon. All right, take care. Bye-bye.